All right, this is chapter 7, finding and correcting errors. So there are essentially 3 different ways that we can correct errors, and they're bulleted right here. I just basically took screenshots of the text. That's the best way to explain this. So I'm going to just read this and summarize some of this. So when we make a mistake, rule number 1, never erase an error. So we have to figure out, we did switch to pens, we have to figure out how we're going to fix the errors. One way we can make an error is when we journalize incorrectly and don't do anything else. We may catch ourselves. I noticed this a lot today working in class. Students messed up. We're so used to erasing. So say we just write the wrong account, and after we write the wrong account, we stop dead in our tracks and realize it. All we have to do is simply cross it out. And if we have space above, rule of thumb 2 is if you've already written on lines below, you'll have to cross out and kind of write it above. If that was the first thing you wrote, just cross it off, next line down. I always use the in real life quote, but we only have a limited amount of pages in the workbooks. So you can just write on the line below. Now, if you're stuck and you find it 5 minutes later, then you're going to have to just cross off and write above. If you write the wrong amount or in the wrong column, just cross it off and write it. That's only an error in the journal. You could also journalize completely correct. That's step 1. And then the process of posting is transferring that data to the ledger. So say we journaled correctly. And a lot of students did this too. They'd come and I was like, oh, you journaled in the right accounts, the right amount, and then you posted wrong. So there's just the simple posting error. You can do the same exact thing, cross off and write it in the correct place. That's it. So easy. Then there is the I journalized incorrectly, therefore I posted incorrectly, and I caught it later when both were incorrect. You have to do something called a correcting entry. What does that mean? It means you are creating an entire new journal entry to fix the previous one, and you are, I'm losing my train of thought here, going to post correctly. There's so many different ways you could do this. Let's say you meant to debit one and credit the other and you have it flip-flopped. I know a lot of you have done that already. You would not go back up and draw little arrows to show, oops, this one's supposed to be the debit. No, we don't do that. We do an entire new journal entry. So the rule of thumb is writing the date you discovered it, not the date the transaction took place, but the date you discovered it, and creating an entire new journal entry. And you do the same thing. You debit the correct amount, and then you credit the correct amount. And so maybe that's all it took, was just flip-flopping them, and then you have to post. And I'm going to get to all the extra stuff that you do on top of it. Maybe one account was correct and one was wrong. There's so many times, I'm going to go to the next example here. There's so many times we debit the wrong account. Cash and bank was correct. We credited. Okay, so here's an example. And you're going to have this coming up here. On November 15, Zip found, or an accountant found, that Zip had a journal entry made on November 2nd. So on November 15th, they found the November 2nd error. $100 check to pay electricity bill. So what account falls under electricity? Telephone, water, electricity, that's all utility. So it should have gone to a debit in the utility expense. But it was journaled and posted to the maintenance expense by mistake. So this is what happened. We had a debit and a credit. Cash and bank is good. We do not need to touch cash and bank. What we need to do is fix, with the most efficient way, fix our error. We never go back up and touch it. We do an entire new journal entry. So what we would need to do basically is credit back maintenance and debit the correct amount. Stay with me. Don't need to touch cash and bank. So what you do is you create an entire new journal entry, the date you discovered it, and you do the debited amount. So we actually needed to debit utilities. And I know you're thinking, but wait, it's November 2nd. How am I supposed to know? We'll get there again, because people viewing this would probably say, wait, you can't debit an expense and then credit an expense. Seeing something like that, you should know you're probably fixing something. So there's the 100 debit to utilities, and now we're going to credit back the account. All of this was written in a memo. They typed it up, so they found the mistake in a memo. So there's our memo 70, so we can check it again. When we're done journaling, we need to post like we usually do. So the one different thing here is we actually do this. Now, if I create a journal entry and just fix my journal, I don't have to do anything. If I screwed up in the posting to the ledger and only posting to the ledger, I don't have to do anything. But when I screw up in both, that's the key word there. I journalize wrong and I post wrong. I need to create a new journal entry that is actually correcting the error, and then I need to post, and I need to write this for my description, correcting entry. You write the page you did it on, and then you do the right amount. Okay? And there it is again, correcting entry. It's as simple as that. A couple more errors. There's something called transposition error. Many of you have done this before, where you transpose two numbers. 469 was written as 496. Maybe we journalized correctly and posted wrong, and that might be a simple cross-off in writing it right. So transposition error. There's also something called a slide error that we've been victim of. I actually did this in class yesterday. Basically, it's kind of like sliding a decimal point. So maybe you had something that was $25,000, but you wrote it as $2,500. Or maybe you had something that was $250 and you wrote it as $2,500. Basically adding an extra zero or two. So again, the actual definition of correcting error, and this is so important. You correct an error in a journal entry discovered after posting. So that means you journalized and you posted. That is it for that one. I want to, as a class, we went through 7-9, so I want to go through that. An auditor reviewed the accounting records of Showbiz Video. The auditor wrote a list of all transactions outlined below, so right here, describing the errors discovered in the March records, the general journal for March, and a portion of the ledger. So in our workbook, we have just a portion of everything for paper's sake. Record the entries on page 22. So the original, I'll show in just a little bit, was journalized on page 21. So now it will be G, General Journal 22. Use March 31 as the date in Memo 50. So basically this whole thing is going to be typed up in all the errors discovered in the month of March on March 31st and used as Memo 50 for my source document. Some errors will not require correcting entries, but will just require some sort of fix in the ledger. Post all correcting entries to the general ledger account. I'm going to show you the complete page to save time. So March 3rd, the $125 purchase was for office supplies. So let's figure out what was going on here. So here's March 3rd, General Journal, page 21. I'm going to read this again. The $125 purchase was for office supplies. Okay, we got office furniture. Cash and bank is correct. So they are saying we debited the wrong account. What do we have to do to fix it? The first thing we would do, and we know this, they already posted. I was just going to say step 2 would be if we posted, but if they wrote these in here, usually that means they posted. We should double check just to be safe. So March 3rd, office furniture and cash and bank. Let's go to our ledger accounts. There's March 3rd. Perfect. Credit 125. Here's office supplies. Here's office furniture. There it is. March 3rd, 125. So what we have to do is write a new journal entry. So here we go. It said to number it 22. So on General Journal, page 22, it said to use all of our correcting entries on March 31st, the day we discover. So what I really needed to do was debit office supplies, and I need to credit back office furniture to fix my error. It was on Memo 50. Okay, so then you probably already saw it done. I'm going to go back up to my accounts, and here the two are. So the first thing I would do on the journal is, what did I debit? I debited office supplies. So we have March 31. I must write correcting entry because I created an entire new journal entry. Where'd I get it from? G22. I'm debiting 125. There's my running balance. Go back, account 120. In my general journal, I'll post reference 120. Office furniture credit. The 31st, correcting entry, G22. I need to credit this because I screwed up. So office furniture, when on a running balance, when we credit an asset, we subtract. 2,125 minus 125 is now 2,000. Account number 135. I'll post that. Okay. Next one. March 7th, a $200 payment to a creditor, Broad Street Office Supply, was not posted to the account. A $200 payment to a creditor was not posted to the account. Let's check it out. So it means it journaled. Yep. Broad Street Journal, Cash and Bank, 200. Okay, well, it shows we posted. That's why you don't, I saw a lot of students doing this. Accounts payable, they know the number, so they write it to save time and be lazy and here, but they forgot to post. That's happened a couple times now. This right here is the rule of thumb. Why we don't put the number. We have to post first. So let's go check our two accounts on March 7. See if we have a cash and bank. Yes, 200. So it's the Broad Street Journal. Accounts payable. Nothing. So you can see in blue, this is a good point to make right here. Did we create a correcting entry journal? No. So I will not write March 31st. I'm going to go back. I journalized correctly. I posted to one. I forgot to post to the other. So I'm going to put the date that I forgot, March 7. So that means I got it from my general journal 21. I needed to debit because we were paying. So I had a running balance of 2,200, but I paid off 200, so now I have a running balance of 2,000. Okay. Of course, 201, but it was already posted. The next one, I'm going to do just a couple more. Greg Falia withdrew $1,200 from the business for personal use. Let's see what the heck went on. March 13th, he withdrew $1,200. Let's find our journal account. March 13, he withdrew $1,200. Yes, cash and bank, we credit. We do not use capital anymore except for investments. This should be a debit to withdrawals. Let's go check our posting and see if we did it to capital as well. So I should, I guess, check the 13th right here. Cash and bank, perfect. Credit 1,200. Here's my capital and here's my withdrawals. I did not post to my withdrawals. I posted to capital. Okay, so there's 1,200. I need to debit the correct amount, which is withdrawals, and credit back my capital. So I have to create an entire new journal entry. I discovered it on March 31, so I do not write March 13 because I'm creating a new one, and I'm going to debit back withdrawals and credit capital. Remember, these are all on Memo 50. This right here said we discovered them all on Memo 50. So that's why I write Memo 50 for this. So I would go back up to my two accounts. Which account am I debiting first? Let's do that. March 31, I had to create an entire new journal entry because I screwed up on the journalization and the posting. Got it from here. Now this is funky. There's another error. You never ever credit withdrawals, but once again, we made another error, so don't let this confuse you too much. It should be over here, but there was an error. So this is funky. I had a running balance of credit, but I'm debiting, and we should eventually have a running, and you can see here for the next error fix we do. But I need to debit 1,200, so this is a weird. 3,000 minus 1,200, so now we're on the wrong side, 1,800. We'll get there when we get there. Then I'm going to credit back my capital, $1,200, where I screwed up. Okay. Cash totaling $2,000 was received for video rentals. March 17, cash totaling $2,000 was received for video rentals. If you can see, we have DVD rental revenue and HG projector revenue as our two accounts. So let's find out what's going on here. I already forgot the date. 17th, sorry. Cash and bank, yes. Cash received. Capital, we do not do capital anymore. We do revenue. So this should be DVD revenue on the 17th. So basically, we credited the wrong account. So to fix this, we are going to need to save time, we posted incorrectly too. We would always check our ledger, but we posted incorrectly. I will need to debit capital and credit the correct account, which would be DVD rentals. So I'm going to make that journal entry. Sorry. Debit capital, because I credited it on accident, and then credit the right amount. Boom, boom. If I scroll to the correct accounts, there is my debit of $1,200 because it was incorrect. And I'm going to bring that, I'm sorry, right here. I'm going to bring that back down. I didn't mean debit of $1,200. We just did that one. I'm sorry. Debit of $2,000. 15 minus 2, 13. And now I'm going to credit the correct one. 2,000, running balance. That was my very first entry. A $75 receipt from Shannon Flannery was posted. So that means we journaled correctly. Was posted as 57. I don't know which account. Cash and bank or Shannon Flannery accounts receivable. So I'm going to look and find them. 75, so March 19, 75 is correct here. So let's do, there it is. It was 57. So this is an example of I don't need to do a new journal entry. I just simply need to do this and redo my balance. Perfect. Greg invested an additional $3,000 in the business on the 27th. Let's see what we have wrong here. Cash and bank, wonderful. Oops, there's where I screwed up withdrawals. That all investments are capital. So to save time again, I know we posted incorrectly. So we have to create an entire new journal entry because we did both wrong. And here we go. I didn't want to credit withdrawals. I needed to credit capital. So I need to debit back my withdrawals, 3,000, and credit capital, 3,000. Okay, let's see what it looks like. Withdrawals, I'm going to debit it back. 1,800 on the wrong side plus 3,000 is how you kind of got to look at it. Now I'm on the right side. And then capital, 3,000. Perfect. The revenue of 1,000 was for video rentals. Let's see what that one was. Oops, video rentals on the 29th. Not HG projector, video. So I'm going to need to debit this because I credited the wrong account. And to save time, again, we would check to make sure we posted incorrectly first before we did a new journal entry. We did. So I need to debit this account and credit DVD rental revenue. And we can see them right there. Debit this amount. 1,000 minus 1,000, 0, and we credited the right amount. Okay, that was quick. The assignment after this that the whole class did alone, and I am going to have you do is, oh boy, chapter 7, 7A, shoot. I need to attach paper to fill in or do your own. Basically, here are the accounts to be opened. When I say open accounts, it means name, cash and bank, 101, and if they have a balance. If they don't have a balance, you don't fill it in. Here's the new journal. Sorry, there's a new journal, and there's the trial balance. Look at this. The trial balance numbers are over here instead of the left side. So if we look at the directions, which is on Canvas, problem 7A, I'm wondering what I do for, if you have a printer, I'm going to attach the pages. If you have a printer, if not, we'll have to figure something out. The balances are below. Open the accounts with their beginning balances as of March 1st. That is very, very important because on cash and bank, you will need to write 2022 March 1 in the description, balance, check mark in the post-reference column, and then a running balance of 10,000 in the debit column. right? There's no business transaction, it's just a balance. Then look at this. There's a March 1st transaction under cash and bank. So you'd have two ones, a March 1st, and then underneath it another one, because there's a balance carried forward on March 1st and there's a business transaction on March 1st. Keep that in mind. I love this one because it's thrown together. This is a regular transaction. This is a regular transaction. Then on March 7th, discovered $1,500 in design revenue. So we do have a balance of design revenue $9,000, print production revenue $4,000 in the credit, okay? But on March 7th, so you always post and journal the day you discovered it. $1,500 in design revenue was incorrectly journalized and posted to the print production revenue last month. Now we can't see it because it's last month and we're starting over, but we know it. So what we would do here is we would need to credit back print production revenue. So we need to make a journal, print production, and we would need to, I think I just said credit, we would need to debit back print production revenue and credit the right amount, design revenue. And we would create that on March 7th using Memo 76, and then we would post to the account. So I would debit print production revenue with a correcting entry, and then I would do another correcting entry post on design revenue. I think there's one more discovered on March 20th. Okay, any questions? Let me know, and good luck.